All right, who wants to lose weight? A lot of you may not know that my background is hepatology, and I'm going to bring everything that I've learned from Paris, Amsterdam, San Francisco, and Boston with regards to the liver, pancreas, and the gut, and all the secrets that entails with regards to weight loss. Stay tuned, you might learn a few things. Okay, we're going to break this down into 5 easy categories. The first, 70s and 80s. How is it possible that no one had a dad bod then? Second category, your 3 macronutrients. They don't really play that much of a role with regards to high blood pressure and cholesterol, but they have a huge impact with regards to weight loss. Third, your hormones. Ghrelin, leptin, and insulin. Fourth, creatures of habit. Understand and believe that at 3 weeks, you can break or create a new habit. And 5, exercise, exercise, exercise. Yet the saying goes, exercise is great, but diet moves the needle. We'll talk all about that. If I were to take a picture from any dad in the 1970s and 80s, I'd probably see a couple things. I'd probably see very short shorts and very lean dudes. I mean, size 28 waists. We don't even see that anymore in dads. So what's the difference? I mean, these guys were eating terrible food. White bread, Oreos, jam, everything was processed, smoking like chimneys, drinking like fish. No one had a gym membership. The only thing they did is get up, stretch, and did some push-ups. What was their secret? Well, a few things. First, from birth, they established a routine. Their parents told them, you need to eat breakfast, lunch, and supper. You do not eat before or after supper, otherwise you're gonna get fat. That was a hard rule. The other thing that they did, they were eating basically the equivalent of what our kids eat 3 times a day, and that's it. Happy meals are the equivalent to the adult meals back in the 70s and 80s. They walked a lot, they did some push-ups, but that's basically it. And that was the secret to maintain weight. Imagine what we need to do in order to lose weight. 3 macronutrients, we're going back to high school here, but they're important to understand. Fats, protein, and carbs. Fats have a terrible rap for cholesterol and high blood pressure, and carbs just have a terrible rap in general, and proteins seem like they're like, I don't know, they can do no harm. Well, let's break those down and let's get down to the science.
Let's start with natural fat sources.
They're basically equivalent with regards to protein and carbohydrates in the long run in aspects of relating to heart disease. So why is it that we still have these guidelines that encourage margarine over butter, or we still have a bunch of low-fat products out there? Well, every study that's out since 1970 has actually debunked the myth that trans fats have a direct correlation with heart disease. However, what they do feel is that because the amino acid chain is a little tougher to break, it would be wise to err on the side of caution to make sure we don't eat saturated fats regularly. In the end, it doesn't really make any sense. If you're going to eat primarily fats or proteins or carbs and you lose the weight, what do you think is going to happen to your cholesterol levels? They go down. What do you think is going to happen to your blood pressure levels? They go down. If you eat carbs or protein or fats and you gain weight, what do you think is going to happen? Everything goes up. It's a combination of being sedentary and having too much fat on your body that results into having a buildup of cholesterol and high blood pressure.
Now let's review how much insulin is produced with each macronutrient.
Fats are not converted into glucose, therefore they don't produce insulin whatsoever. Protein is converted into glucose by about 50%, therefore you only have a 50% increase of insulin production. And carbohydrates, especially refined carbohydrates, is basically eating cake. All of it's converted into glucose, therefore stimulating your insulin sky high.
If there was one thing you should take away from this video, is understanding how insulin works in the body.
Now, why is insulin so important? I always compare it with type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Type 1 is basically your pancreas doesn't work anymore. It doesn't produce insulin. You're either born with it or it happens a little earlier in life, and you have to inject your own insulin in order to regulate your blood sugar levels. Type 2 diabetes is very different. Type 2 is whenever your body's produced way too much insulin, way too often, in combination of having a sedentary lifestyle and being overweight. At around age 40 or 50, your body becomes resistant to its own insulin. That's right, if we ever did an insulin test on someone who has type 2 diabetes, it's completely opposite from someone who has type 1 diabetes. Type 1, they don't produce any insulin whatsoever. Type 2, they have 2 or 3 times the amount of insulin that's circulating into the body. Now, as I said, if your body produces insulin, there's a valve. It does not allow you to go into your fat reserves. Anyone who is type 2 diabetic in particular, if they have an abundant amount of insulin circulating, it's almost impossible for them to lose weight. Let's bring that into reality for someone who doesn't have type 2 diabetes. If someone were to ask me, if I ate cake every day, 5 times a day for the next 10 and 20 years, would my chances go up for diabetes? Obviously, we'd say yes. However, if someone said, what happens if I ate cereal for breakfast, sandwich for lunch, pasta for supper, crackers and cheese a couple times a day for snacks, what are my chances of having diabetes then? It's pretty much the same because it's all carbohydrate based, it's converted into glucose, therefore you're stimulating insulin just as many times. It all adds up to the same thing. Now, what would happen even if you didn't develop diabetes?
Now, for everyone who doesn't have diabetes, you need to grasp this concept. Insulin brings down blood sugar, so it's going to make you tired. And don't forget,
because of all that insulin that's being produced, you will not allow yourself to go into your fat reserves.
So here are my meal-based recommendations.
So we know how carbs work. What do I want you to eat? I want you to eat something that has a nice natural fat base. It should be avocados, it could be olive oil, it could be coconut oil, it could be nuts. I mean, anything that has a natural fat base will coat your stomach, which will help you feel satiated or full, and at the same time produce no insulin. That needs to be a standard. The next thing that I want you to incorporate into your meal is a natural protein base. So that could be either vegetarian or it could be meat based, whatever is up to you. But something substantial, because something that has weight will also help you make you feel full. You'll realize that if you have something that coats your stomach and also something with density, you really don't need to eat that much in order to make you feel full. And then the rest of your plate, I just want you to kind of fill it up with greens. And you can put salad dressing, you can have cheese, you can put nuts, you can put anything that you want that has natural fat or protein in there, mixed with your greens, and portion size is key. We're gonna tie in the hormones ghrelin and leptin and the fourth category, creatures of habit, together here because they're really important. The hormone ghrelin is the hormone that tells you when you're hungry, leptin tells you when you're full. If you train yourself to eat 6 times a day, well, guess what? At 3 weeks, your body will produce ghrelin on the hour, as long as you stick to that routine. But guess what? If you eat twice a day for 3 weeks straight, your body will only produce ghrelin twice a day. And it's much easier than you think. You'll learn that you're not hungry and you'll have a lot of energy. Every single one of my patients that have lost weight from eating twice a day are astonished of how they're not hungry anymore and they have more energy. It's the complete opposite of what they're expecting.
I also want you to eat your 2 meals within 8 hours of the day. Otherwise, drink plenty of water. Coffee and tea is also acceptable. Add a little cream if necessary, but absolutely no sweeteners or sugar.
Leptin is the hormone that tells you when you're full. So let's look back at the 70s and 80s. Remember they're eating a small portion? They were full, they were content then.
At a cellular level, nothing's changed. You can be content with the same size portion now.
I promise you, at 3 weeks, you will be full with a moderate portion. And exercise. How does the saying go? Exercise is great, but diet moves the needle. And exercise only accounts for about 20% of all weight loss strategies. I mean, yes and no. If you're looking at calorie in, calorie out alone, then yeah, I mean, there's not too much that exercise is going to do for you. I mean, I can kick my butt on a treadmill and only burn 250, maybe 300 calories in a full hour. It's like, what, a quarter of a bagel? That's nothing. However, it's everything that you don't see with regards to calories that's so important with exercise. I've read a few funny memes recently and they said basically, adulthood is defined as being tired and hungry. Now, why is that? Maybe it's because of the food you're taking in. Maybe it's the amount of exercise you're doing. Maybe it's the amount of sleep you're having. So if you do nothing, if you live a sedentary lifestyle, the day after 3 weeks, your brain recognizes this person is not going to be doing really any exertion. Therefore, I'm only going to give him a certain amount of energy to get through that day. So you wake up, a little less pep in your step. Probably the food that you ate had maybe some type of carbohydrate, so you're crashing around 2 or 3 anyways. It's a recipe for disaster. Throw in some bad sleep. Now, if you exercised every day for 3 weeks straight, what do you think would happen the next day?
Many of you would fear that you'd be even more tired than you are today, but in reality, it would do the exact opposite.
Your brain would tell you this person is going to probably do some exercise and we better give him enough energy for that. And then when you do go to the gym, guess what happens? You get a natural influx of dopamine and serotonin. It's basically an anti-anxiety, anti-depression medication. The other thing that a lot of people don't talk about is that it's one of the best means of regulating your cortisol level. So if you're having a lot of stress that day from work or someone's pissed you off, go for a run, go lift some weights, drops that down. No antidepressant or anti-anxiety medication can regulate cortisol like exercise. So let's recap. 70s and 80s, what did they do? They had 3 meals a day. Since birth, no snacking. Wasn't the best meals. However, they were smaller portions. That's what they needed to do in order to maintain weight. For you to lose weight, you need to train yourself to eat twice a day, moderate portions. You'll do that with your 3 macronutrients. You're going to try and eliminate your carbohydrates as much as possible because it produces too much insulin and it's going to make you tired throughout the day. Natural fats, natural protein with some greens on the side. And then finally, exercise every single day. I know it sounds crazy, but you need to do it. By 3 weeks, you'll be waking up with a ton of energy that you never thought you had possible. Listen, good luck, have fun. I know it's tricky, but stick with it for 3 weeks. I promise you, this will change your life. After that, keep me posted. Ask me any questions you like. I'd be more than happy to help. All the best. Good luck. Take care.